So good day, friends. This is Dr. Bob Hamilton, and you have tuned in today to the Hamilton Review, where kids and culture collide. I appreciate the fact that you are making us part of your day. I know that all of you out there, if you're like the people I know in my life, you're busy people, you're going places, you're carpooling with your kids and watching volleyball games and soccer games and a lot of other things. So the fact that you've tuned in means a lot to me. So thank you for doing that. If you like what you hear, and I hope you do, I ask that you pass this podcast on to your friends. We're building an audience, and the reason we do is because we are trying to do that is because the people that I bring to you on a weekly basis are all amazing people, and today is indeed no exception to that. It's a pleasure to welcome to the studio today a friend of mine. Her name is Theresa Armour. Theresa is a wife. She's a mother of 3 grown children. She's also a co-owner of a business. The business is called Burke Williams. It is a spa in all through California. And where else?
All through California.
All through California.
We stayed in California.
And so without further ado, Theresa Armour, thank you for coming today to be on the Hamilton Review.
It's my pleasure. It's really fun. I was really looking forward to this. I've never done anything like this.
That's great. Well, we're going to have a good conversation. So, Theresa, I've known you, I think, for 36 years. Is that correct? Yeah. And which is a long time. And this is a wonderful lady, you guys. We've had great conversations, so many wonderful conversations with you and Bill, your husband, and watched your kids grow up. They're great kids. Amazing. You've done a phenomenal job in raising your 3 children. But I like, and you know, you've heard my podcast before, and those out there know that I begin by having my guests talk a little bit about themselves, kind of talk about their background, where they're from. And Theresa, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you, and you can tell people about who Theresa Armour is.
Okay, thank you. It's really fun. Well, thank you for saying that about my kids. I think they're great too. You know, they're grown and they're just such lovely humans, and they're responsible and they're hardworking and they're fun. So it's sweet. I have a grandson. I have 7 grandkids. I know you have a lot more than that. But my oldest just went off to college. And
Wow.
His mother is, of course, so sad. And, you know, it's really hard. It's like a dirty trick when you're a mom, and your whole job is to raise your child so that they leave you leave you feeling good about themselves and ready to fly away. And you put yourself out of a job when you do that. So
true.
It's so true. So she is really sad, but I'm just thrilled because what I have learned is the older our kids get, and I love every age, but they're much more interesting. And then we get to join into the fun things they're doing.
So true.
And so all of a sudden, my life is bigger because of them.
Yeah.
So that's really a joy.
No, I think when you have children introduce you to, every child is like this universe. They're very different. They're not all the same. They have different interests, obviously. And they go different places. I mean, we have traveled the world chasing our children,
right?
Trying to figure out what they're doing in Spain or in, wherever there may be, New York City. And I mean, I can go on and on. But the amazing thing is that all of our kids are like this whole new universe, and they expose to so many cool things. So you're absolutely right. I have a daughter, for example, today who's landing in Croatia. And so, we told her to take pictures, send some pictures back, and tell us, give us a book report when you get back on Croatia. And so this is like one little tiny thing, in our family. We have all these different things that are happening all the time.
Well, so and I think the other part about that is if you want to stay close to your kids. I remember there was a woman who was older than I was at work, and she had 3 sons, and she was so close to all of them. And I said, so how do you do it? Because I was interested in the teenage years. I hadn't had that age yet. And she said, I do what they like. So she had one who was interested in cooking. She had one who was athletic and liked to go river rafting. She had one who was into cinema. And she, being such a good mother, learned about cooking, went river rafting, and learned about cinema. And
Yeah.
she stayed close to all those kids. And that's part of how you enlarge that
Yeah.
world.
No, you kind of unleash them and let them kind of
It's really true.
guide their lives.
Yeah.
They're a separate individual. So tell us about where did you grow up, Theresa?
So I am a California girl, born and raised in Southern California. I went off to Northern California to go to school. I was raised in a rather conservative household, and I couldn't wait to get away from it. So my best friend's family, the parents were psychologists, and they were very avant-garde, and I thought, cool. So I moved up north. I went to Berkeley.
Yep.
And the first piece of literature I got from someone standing at Sather Gates was a communist. And I thought, this is the best thing ever. This is what I want to do. I want to be a communist, because my parents would have hated it. And so I started calling people comrade. And I was such an idiot. I mean, it was the time when we thought Mao was good.
Yeah.
I mean, this murderer I thought was good. And Berkeley fostered so many thoughts that were, I was an English literature major,
Okay.
and which has served me in my life in so many ways. But I was always curious, because no matter what class I took, it had a Marxist bent. Every single class I took, women in literature, or, I'm not sure how that relates. When I'm taking economics, okay, you learn
Sure.
about that. But so I came out, and I think that it was this beautiful learning ground for me. It was something I was talking to your producer about, because what I realized is it wasn't any better to be liberal than to be conservative. It was just a different ideology.
Yeah.
And one could be just as stuck and just as narrow in any way,
Yeah.
instead of really looking at it. And I felt very blessed to actually see both sides of an issue, and see that you could be stuck in either side, or open to either side, or take a little of this and a little of that and actually form your own ideas.
Yeah.
So that was really, really eye-opening for me. And then I landed a great job.
So backing up a little bit during your college days. So did you like embrace this? I mean, were you involved in communist activities? I mean, did you actually vote communistic, or I mean, I don't know if are there communists on the ballot? I don't know. Maybe up in Berkeley there are. But tell us a little bit. I mean, develop that in terms of where that led you.
Well,
On a practical
it led
basis.
me, what was interesting is I actually didn't like it. I went to a meeting, I met a friend, and it turned out that her roommates were really head of this huge communist organization. And they were mean people. They weren't loving people. They were harsh. And they were just people that actually just their very being was not interesting to me.
Yeah.
What I did love, and the reason I had chosen Berkeley in the first place actually, was my cousins had gone there before me. And one of my cousins had lived with Mario Savio,
Yeah.
who was head of the free speech
Sure.
movement. And so I just thought, this is an incredible way to think and to be, is to be open. And I thought communism was an open idea. It wasn't. So I started reading about it, the Gulag Archipelago, and no, it was awful.
Yeah.
And so it actually turned me back the other way, is
Interesting.
actually what happened. And it was funny, because this was in the 70s.
Yeah.
And so People's Park still existed.
Sure.
And it was filled with a bunch of drug-addicted hippies that wasn't happening in Southern California. And it was people who, tune in, turn on, drop out. It wasn't working.
Yeah.
It wasn't working at all.
I mean, I think when you see that up front and visually in front of your eyes, it does make you kind of go, is this what I want for my life? It's funny you mentioned Mao. I actually had a copy. He had there was a thing called the Little Red Book, if you remember that.
I remember that.
So I had a copy of the Little Red Book. It was banned at our high school. You were not allowed to bring the Little Red Book to the high school. And I remember, surreptitiously having this copy of the Little Red Book, and I would bring it to school, and I thought I was being, and I kind of, I'm not sure I would ever have called myself a communist. I did live on a commune for a short time.
See, like that's fun. I didn't know
quite
that.
work out too well. But anyway, the point is that I remember that was it was in the air. I mean, it was kind of, that ideology had kind of
It
flooded
was.
the colleges, and it was. I'm not surprised that you were at least enamored by it to some degree. So you kind of did that, and then you got out of Berkeley, and what happened to you?
Well, it was an interesting time too because there was no I didn't have any spiritual sense.
Yeah.
So and I kind of felt that was missing. Anyway, I met some people who were actually filming at Berkeley. It was German television,
Yeah.
ZDF, and we connected, and I was offered a position.
Well,
I'd been working for the school newspaper.
okay.
And so I'd been doing that kind of work because I was an English major. So I love to write.
Yeah.
And I love journalism and that kind of idea. And I had once thought, oh, I'll be like Barbara Walters. That was kind of my goal. Travel the world and meet new people. But I ended up getting to do that because working for ZDF, they were out of Mainz, Germany.
Okay.
And what they were doing is they had come to California because California is where everything was happening.
Right.
So they wanted to know what were the trends in California. So then my world opened up into this really wonderful, fun place. And it was happy. It was happy where communism wasn't a happy thing, And Berkeley wasn't a happy thing.
Well, it was not a happy thing.
Well, it was an interesting experience. My best friend was going there.
Yeah.
The girl that I had lived with and her parents. And it was funny because you would think it was so liberal. But for some reason, I remember we had a fire drill. This is really personal, but it was really interesting to me. And we had to walk down the stairs. And I was in the dorms. I was on the 8th floor.
Wow.
And there was my name in huge red letters and my room number. So everyone knew it was me and my room. And then it was an expletive, F's, women, as if I was gay. And I did hang around with my best friend a lot.
Yeah.
And probably I'd said no to one too many guys who would ask me out. I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
And so someone who was irritated had done that.
Well.
The thing that amazed me was not so much that it was mean-spirited,
Yeah.
but that being gay was a bad thing. Like that would be the thing because I would think at Berkeley,
Yeah.
they had the largest population of lesbians, I think, of any university
Yeah.
at that point. So that was a weird thing.
Yeah.
So when I graduated and then I was working for ZDF, it was really this beautiful time. And it was like, what's great about California?
Yeah.
Not what's horrible about our world. It's what's great.
Well.
And what is California doing? And so it opened up this kind of fresh, beautiful place. And we interviewed Muhammad Ali. We interviewed Luciano Pavarotti.
Wow.
We were talking to Shai Coltrane. We were filming across the Golden Gate Bridge. And we would have all these stars. And I would write up. I was the production assistant.
Yeah.
So I got to go everywhere, do everything, and then just stand in for them, so they didn't have to stand on the Golden Gate Bridge. Like I would stand there and be freezing until everything was perfect, and then they would take the place. But it was really fun. It was really fun. And
Wow.
then I spent some time in Europe. So my world was just getting bigger and
Yeah.
bigger out of California and then all through Europe. I started in Portugal, Spain, France, Germany, all the way over to Greece.
Wow.
And spent almost a year traveling. And so
Incredible.
it was wonderful.
Well, what a year.
was-
And you were getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It was really fun. But back home, I had a boyfriend that I met when I was 16 named Bill. And we had broken up and gotten back together and broken up and gotten back together as we both went in and out of relationships and growing.
Yeah.
And finally, he said to me, I'm not going to wait any longer. And I said, uh-oh. Because I always knew he was the guy I wanted. Always knew that.
Wow.
And so I said, okay, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. He said, too late. I said, no, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. And so I did. I came back to Los Angeles, and I didn't like Los Angeles. I liked Northern California better. But I came back to Los Angeles, and we became engaged. And he promised me we would move up north as soon as we could, which he said with his fingers crossed because he never meant it. And we're still in Los Angeles 41 years later. And
I'm kind of glad you're here, by the way.
thank you. And I am too, because I love it. I love it. And San
Yeah.
Francisco's a mess.
Yeah.
And so we got married and had babies.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And Bill is a great guy.
Bill's the best guy.
No, he's the best guy.
Best
honestly.
guy ever.
I love Bill.
He loves
And
you. Yeah.
those of you listening, I tell you, Bill is he was a good catch. So you had good brains at 16. So maybe you got waylaid with communist ideology when you went to college, but at least you had some kind of good residual common sense that you came back to Bill, because that was a smart move. Let me tell you. So you came back, you had babies. You've also you guys have opened a business. And how long has Burke Williams been out there?
About 36, 37 years.
Wow.
Almost 40 years. So that was really interesting too. Bill's family was ultra conservative.
Wow.
And so his father was this brilliant, brilliant man who was always praying for me.
Wow.
He and I hit it off.
Yeah.
And his mother and I had a problem because I was so liberal. She just really couldn't stand it. But his father would engage me in conversation and really would discuss ideas with me but not just political ideas. He would discuss authors with me. He'd been gone to Princeton, smart guy. So we just talked and talked and talked. And before Bill and I got married, Bill said Bill was religious and I wasn't. At that point. And he said, well, if we get married, you have to get married in the church and you have to raise our children Catholic. And I argued, no, I don't think that's right. And we argued back and forth and back and forth. And finally, I realized it was a deal breaker for him. So I lied and I just said, okay, I'll do it. And I had no intention of following through. But what's so funny is when you say that I had some common sense with Bill, I did, but it was more than common sense. I always had this deep sense that I now know is the Holy Spirit. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we'd gone to church. I was 11 and I'd gone with the youth group to Angel Stadium and Billy Graham was there.
Wow.
And he had called everybody down to the field who was accepting Christ. And I wanted to do it, but I was younger than everybody else. And my siblings wouldn't let me go. You'll get lost. You can't go.
Yeah.
But in my heart, I had accepted Christ.
Wow.
And so
that was at 11 years
at
of
11.
Age. Wow.
But I pretty much forgot about it all those years. Just really forgot about it. But God didn't forget about me. Wow. And so these promptings I had that I felt so strongly about, I always thought I attributed them to my grandmother whom I'd loved and who had passed away. And I thought, I'm being guided. I'm being guided back to Bill. I'm being guided into this marriage. I'm being guided. And I knew I was being guided. I just was misguided as to my thoughts of who was guiding me, right? But it was still goodness. And I knew it was good. And I don't think I'm the brightest person, but I do have discernment of good and evil. And it's led me into important places of goodness. So Bill and I got married, and I did marry him in the church to please him. And I thought that would be kind of the end of it. Yeah. But we had babies, and I said, all right, I'll get them baptized, and I'll do that. But my heart was changing, and I put them in a preschool. And as a parent, maternal instincts kick in, and you just want what's best for your child. Sure. So I searched all around, and in where we live, Malibu, it was the Malibu Presbyterian preschool. Sure. And it was the best one I'd seen. It was just lovely. So I put my oldest boy, Burke, in there as a little guy, and I made friends with the women. And one day, as I was walking out, there were two friends. And they were very successful women. One was a doctor and one was a TV host. And they were beautiful and they were smart and we were hanging together and they were having an argument. they were both in very bad marriages, unhappy marriages. And one was saying, I want to leave him. And the other was saying, well, you can't. You've made vows before God.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to me to listen to this. And no one asked my opinion, but I gave it anyway. And I said, well, I think you should leave if you're unhappy. And the two women continued their argument. And the one woman said, I have a Bible study. And she was inviting, I thought, both of us to this Bible study. She said, we just meet every Friday. It was right across the street from the church. And we have this Bible study, and why don't you come?
Well,
And I think the training from Berkeley and from being an English major, and really what that does is teach you how to think critically.
yeah.
So I was fascinated, like, is it right or is it wrong? I want to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I showed up at the woman's door on the next Friday morning, and the other woman who'd been invited never did.
Well,
and that was interesting because I found out years later I was never really the invited one. And she and I are still great friends. So
Yeah.
that was a foray into a different kind of growth for me.
Yeah. And that was kind of your spiritual journey, which you have been on for quite a while now, actually. And I know that, and I want to talk about something that this kind of journey has led you into, which the title of this is called Blue Heart Warriors. This is the organization, right? Is that correct? And we're gonna kind of segue here into this because I think that this is something that is relatively new. I think is part of that journey that you've been on, from my understanding, in terms of taking maybe that internal faith that you have acquired over the years and appreciated, and actually now putting feet to it. And I really want, because this is Blue Heart Warriors. My understanding is really has to do with trafficking and child trafficking, trafficking of women, basically the whole panoply of what's going on out there. So tell us a little bit about this organization, why you got involved, because I think this is really fascinating.
Yeah, well, they go together, Blue Heart Warriors and our work.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating. Blue Heart Warriors Foundation is a foundation that Bill and I set up, and it's to contribute to the eradication of human trafficking,
Yeah.
which is human slavery.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's awful. And we called it Blue Heart Warriors because the blue heart is the symbol for anti-trafficking.
Well,
and we call it warriors because we've decided to join this fight. And it is a fight. There's some facts about human trafficking that I was very unaware of. And I would actually like to give a few facts.
No, I think this would be interesting to people.
Yeah. So human trafficking is just the definition of it, right? It's sexual exploitation. It's using people for the purpose of sexual exploitation.
Yep.
That's one of the uses of human trafficking. The other is forced labor, and they often go together, right? And the third, which is even hard to talk about, it's organ harvesting.
Well,
yeah, it's really awful. And it's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. And it's only second behind drug criminal activity. And it's supposed to surpass the drug trade very quickly. And the reason for that, Bob, is because drugs cost money to produce.
Yeah.
You have to have people working in factories, and then you have to have the materials to do it. But people are reusable. Once you have purchased them, you can use them over and over and over again.
They're like an asset.
Yeah.
They're like a living asset.
They are.
So,
do you know there are more than 45 million people caught up in this right now?
In the world?
In the world.
Yeah.
In this trap? Yeah. And most of the victims are female.
Sure.
And the average age where they get girls is between 12 and 14.
Mm.
And for boys, it's way younger. It's younger. And the reason this is happening is because it's lucrative. The traffickers earn over $150 billion annually. It's amazing.
This
It's amazing. And so we decided, once I started learning about this, there was no going back. There was no going back. And so what's interesting to me is I got a group of people at work together to talk about it.
Yeah.
And one of the gentlemen, he's wonderful, he's smart, and we have a very big organization for giving and charity within our company. And he said, and I had brought this up, and he said, well, it's a really good topic, and it's really a horrible problem. I understand that, but why would we do it? It's not really our problem. That's happening somewhere very far away. And do you know where the number one place for human trafficking is?
I think you've told me. So I do know it's Los Angeles.
California.
Yeah, California.
California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's awful.
So let me just back up. When you talk about trafficking, I'm thinking about these are kidnapped people.
Right.
They're people who are kidnapped. Now
Yes.
I don't hear a lot about kidnapping in America. Now, where are these? Are they being kidnapped from different countries, or I don't understand. I don't really quite understand where are these kids being kidnapped from.
Well, that's really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go into the genesis of Blue Heart Warriors from our business. We started the spa business in 1986.
Yeah.
And in 1986, all of massage was considered adult entertainment. It was prostitution. And so to try and do our research for it, I mean, it was the underbelly. And we had to be fingerprinted, we had to be mug-shotted, trying to rent a space in Los Angeles. People would say, yeah, there's a for lease sign out front. And we would go in, and then when we would tell them what we wanted for massage, they would say, oh, sorry, it's rented. We don't have any space anymore. And we understood that this was really, really, it was a form of prostitution. And so we wanted to change that.
Sure.
So we did. And we have over 1,000 massage therapists, and for millions of people now, this is a way of being about wellness and self-care.
Sure.
But as the legitimate practice came throughout the nation, so did the illegitimate business.
Yeah.
So what happened, what's really interesting, when you ask, how did this happen? Where are these people taken from?
Yeah.
It's interesting because we have gone to symposiums. We've heard district attorneys talk. There are different ways people are taken. So from Asia, what happens is because there's such great poverty, women are promised jobs. And they're told, you can come to this country, America, and we will give you great jobs in administration, doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So the women come here, and that's not at all what they find. Now they're stuck. Their passports are taken from them. They don't have any money, and they're put into illicit massage. And so there's really no massage going on. They're in these rooms, and that's where they sleep. And it's where they turn up to 20 tricks a day.
Wow.
They're just used over and over and over again. But in different areas, different things happen. So for some people, like for children in neighborhoods where maybe they're not intact families, we think of children just being pulled off the street. And that can happen in some places. It's not the most common here in the United States. The most common way here is online.
Wow. Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
And it's huge. And it's both men and women who pretend to be someone they're not.
Yes.
Because most kids feel awkward during their young teenage years.
Sure.
They feel that they're not understood. They feel awkward. I'm not being invited to this party. And so women will pretend to be the really cool 17-year-old. oh, and they show pictures. I've got these great clothes and I go to these parties and we could be friends. If you hang with me, then
Yeah.
we could be friends. And the girls think, yeah, I want a friend. I want to be cool. I want to be
Yeah.
accepted. And so often they're pulled in by a female who then
Wow.
turns them over to a male.
I see.
Or it can be some creepy guy who's a lot older, but he pretends to be a 17-year-old man and, I'll love you. And they have this way
So
of
online you're talking about.
online.
So
And
they're not seeing this person behind the text messaging or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
But they woo them and they
Yeah.
build trust with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so then once the young person decides, I can trust this person, this is someone who gets me, this is
Yeah.
someone I could really be close to, then they go and they meet the person. And the person treats them in the beginning very well,
Sure.
often with gifts, often with just fun and entertainment. And before you know it,
They're there.
they're there and everything changes.
So it seems like these people could flee. I mean, they could get out of this if what happens? Are they then like shackled down? I mean, how does that work that they cannot get
Right.
away?
It's fascinating how brilliant these people are. What they
Yeah.
do when they take these young people, these young women primarily, excuse me, is they're masters at finding a human weakness,
Yeah.
right? So if it's a girl who has not had a father in her life,
Yeah.
he fills that role for her.
Mm-hmm.
If it's someone who's feeling insecure about their looks, they fill that need for the person.
Sure.
So they spend a lot of time building up that trust, and then they promise them things. Well, together, we're going to be together, baby. We're going to start a family and we're going to have a home. And so the girl's thinking, this is great. He loves me. He's going to take care of me. I'm
Yeah.
going to be beautiful. I'm going to be loved. I'm going to have a home. I'm going to have a family. Everything I didn't have. And then, I mean, these stories are so amazing because the guy will say, okay. So one example, this is a true story. The girl was this beautiful middle-class girl,
Yeah.
meets the guy. He promises her all these things. She was pregnant. She didn't know whether to keep or get rid of her baby. She chose to have the baby. She was in college. She meets the guy. He says, we'll buy the crib. We'll do this. I'll take care. We'll
So
marry you.
she was pregnant before she met the guy.
Pregnant before the guy, had
Gotcha.
the child. He loves the child. She so wants to have a father for her child. That was
Yeah.
her need.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to move to Las Vegas and move with me. She introduced him to her parents. She didn't introduce him. She told him the minute she moved to Las Vegas, they get into the room, shuts the door, and he says, okay, bitch, I've spent a lot of money on you. I bought the crib. I've spent this much money on clothes. Now you need to earn your money back. And the girl is so shocked at what's happened and disturbed. And it's like, you go out there and you owe me $1,500 now. And this is what's set up for you. And if you don't, your child will be killed.
Wow.
Now they have you. These girls are beaten.
So this is a real story.
That's a real story.
Yeah.
That's a real story. And the girl says, as she's walking through the casinos in Las Vegas and everyone's just gambling away, she's thinking, they have no idea. And this is a nice girl. She
Yeah.
thinks this has been her boyfriend. And now her child is threatened with death. She's going to go out there. And she was questioned later, why don't you tell your parents? Why don't you call? Well, they start brainwashing you over and over. You're worthless. Look at you. You're nothing but a tramp. This is what you've decided to do. You had this baby out of wedlock. Now you've given yourself to me. Now you're doing this with other men. No one will ever want you.
Yeah.
You're worthless. The brainwashing becomes so big and the girls are so brainwashed that they're worthless.
Ashamed. Yeah.
And shame, that is the word.
Yeah.
That they don't reach out. A lot of them can't reach out. They don't have access. They will be beaten to a pulp if they so much as look at or talk to anyone. This is where you're to go. This is when you're to come back. This is how much money you're supposed to earn. It's set up for them.
Wow. It's almost hard to fathom this. But so So you set up this foundation, Blue Heart Warriors and Foundation, and how do you fight this? You're warriors, but where is the battle?
Well, what's really interesting is, you know, you know the story of all the starfish on the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah. So millions of starfish, and the little boy's throwing them back, and the man says, "What are you doing? You're not making any difference." And the little boy takes one and throws it back, and he said, "Made a difference to that one."
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what this problem is like to us, is that this religious nudge that I had. We started our business. And when we started our business, I thought, this is about me. I want a massage. And it was a love story, and Bill started the place.
Yeah.
But what I really saw was I wanted it because I was a young mom without a baby and a baby and a baby. And I needed a place to get away. But what I quickly saw was so many women need a place. They just need a place to rest. Well, through the years, I realized it's not women, it's men. And then when you realize the world is a harsh place,
Yeah.
and there's so much busyness, and everything's competing for your attention. And I had a Bible verse, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest."
Yeah.
And I realized this is not for us. This is God's work. And we are supposed to give people rest.
And you're talking about your
I'm talking about Burke
the
Williams.
Burke Williams.
Talking
Okay.
about Burke Williams.
Yeah.
So within Burke Williams, we started doing charity work.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of charity work and a lot of organizations that we give to. So as we were doing this, we knew this is what we wanted to do. But all of a sudden, all of these things they weren't coincidences.
Yeah.
Right? So I had been on a road trip with Bill, and we turned on a podcast, and it was Tim Ballard.
Sure.
And The Sound of Freedom, the movie was about,
Yeah.
but the movie hadn't come out because this was years ago. And he's the CIA agent, and he's traveled the world rescuing children.
Right. So, I mean, what Theresa is talking about right now is the movie Sound of Freedom, which actually has been over the summer a breakout, mild, surprised Hollywood, surprised a lot of people by having incredible draw at the box
Success.
office. And I think it's still going. I think it's actually now international, as a matter of fact.
Right.
And Tom Ballard was the guy who was the movie's all kind of
Right.
based on his experiences.
Right. Based
Amazing.
on his life.
So you heard Tom Ballard
I heard that
on the radio.
I heard that on a podcast, and
Yeah.
it was like, well, and then because of our business,
Yeah.
Burke Williams, we were thinking this illicit massage is got to stop.
Yeah.
So Bill was going to Sacramento talking to legislatures. What do we do about this?
Sure.
We want the other side of it. So we're starting to understand the horrors of human trafficking. It's human slavery, and it's bigger now than it ever was
Yeah.
before. And so one day my heart was just hurting for this, just really hurting. And I was at home, and I was on the computer, and I was just going through some of these stories, like what happens? How do these girls get taken? What is going on here? But I had a friend who had moved to Nashville, left LA, moved to Nashville, and we had a phone date. We were just going to catch up. And I said, "What's going on? What are you doing?" And she said, "You know what?" And she's a woman in media. She's a powerhouse in media. And she says, 6 friends and I started a foundation called Redeeming Love Foundation. And what we do is we support organizations that rescue and rehabilitate the survivors of human trafficking.
Wow.
And I said, "Lana, I'm on the computer right now looking at this." It was no coincidence. My heart was changing, but everywhere
Were
I was
you looking
looking
at her website by any chance?
No.
Oh, okay, but a similar type of information.
Right,
Yeah.
but it was just at the same time, and she started telling me about her organization. I said, "Tell me about it." And she said a woman named Francine Rivers had written a book called Redeeming Love,
Okay.
and it was taken from a Bible story.
Wow.
And I think it's Hosea, who's
Yeah.
supposed to marry the
Yeah,
prostitute,
he
right?
marries a prostitute.
Right.
That's right. That's
And
correct.
so the woman had written a book about this, and she gave all her proceeds to Redeeming Love Foundation. And so what they started doing is going out this foundation and looking at, okay, who is doing the work to take care of these people? Saying, yeah, you can call it anytime, day or night. We're going to come rescue you. And then we're going to provide a safe place for you. And then we're going to give you the things that you need to get on in life. And that's what her foundation did.
Wow.
So we, Burke Williams, invited her into our company. She gave a presentation and we've partnered.
Wow.
And so we, like the little boy who threw the starfish, what we can do is give money.
Yeah.
We can give money. So what's exciting to us is that Bill and I have decided for every client who comes into Burke Williams, we're going to give a portion of that to this foundation, Blue Heart Warriors. And so anyone who's getting a massage or facial is doing good.
Yeah.
And then for our employees, anyone who's giving any service, it's more meaning and purpose to their job. They're doing good. And then what we're doing is we take that, and we've just started this, is we're going to take that money and then give it to Redeeming Love, who does all the work of vetting.
So and now is Redeeming Love only in Nashville, or is it actually is it in California?
No, most of the women are here in Hollywood.
Wow.
Because they're a media group. And so, but they take places all over the world. But they have found that some places are more successful than others. Some places have been around longer than others. And so what they wanted to do is find places that are successful. And one of the things they found was that if there's a faith component, they're more successful.
Sure.
Because the rate of recidivism is so high for these girls. They go back because they feel such shame. And they have no training. They've been taken at 12 years old. So what can they do? They haven't finished school and they don't know how to cook and they've been starved and they don't know what healthy food is and they don't know how to drive a car. And so they find places that takes care of the whole girl and they give them a home to stay in. And we have actually visited some of these homes, and because Burke Williams is in California, we wanted facilities that are in California so that our people feel good about, and kind of it's more personal who they're supporting.
Who they're actually doing, Are there homes like that in LA?
So many.
Are there really?
So one is called Mercy Multiplied, and they're in Nashville. They're they're all over, but there's one in Sacramento. So this is one, but there's one in San Diego that we're going to be doing, one in Riverside that we've chosen. So we're starting with 3 that we're going to be supporting, and we've just visited the Mercy Multiplied, and it's a home. It's so beautiful what they do for these girls. Wow.
I mean, these are people that really, when you have this kind of assault, I mean, obviously these young women are suffering from PTSD, and they have been taken from their families, and all the foundational things that we gave to our children, you certainly gave to your children, have been gone, have been taken out. All the scaffolding of good common sense too. And, the redemption. So what is the recidivism rate? I mean, is it like 90%? I mean, can you actually redeem some of these girls and boys too,
that's why every single facility an organization that we're supporting has the faith component.
Okay.
Because when you put that in, God is a God of transformation.
Yeah. No,
and he's
absolutely.
a God of truth. And so these girls have been so lied to that they're worthless. They're children. They've been children that have been told that they have no future. Well, that's a lie. And so when there's a faith-based aspect to it, they're told, no, you're a child of God. You have value, innate value. You have worth. What is the lie? We're going to attack it with the truth.
Yeah.
And so then the rate really goes down. But there's so much training for the police departments. They bring them in with the DAs. They have to work with, why won't the girls testify? Girls won't testify against the pimp.
Wow.
They've been told he'll kill them. So so that law has just been passed, which is really lovely. They don't have to be in person to testify against someone.
Oh, I see. So they can actually take like a video or just a verbal
Testimony.
Yeah. Wow.
Testimony.
Well, this is fascinating. And how long do these girls live in the homes?
How long they need to.
Really? So there's not like any particular
No, and they're transitional things.
Yeah.
You know, at first they just need major counseling, and I was at one of these homes last week looking, and these girls were so cute. They were young teenagers,
Wow.
and they were all in the library. They were petting the dog.
Yeah.
It was about lunchtime, and I'd gone through the kitchen, and they had beautiful food set up. These girls are pretty much starved. And so for them to literally see that they can have all the food they want
Yeah.
and prepare it and learn how to prepare it. They were taught how to put oil in their car. They're taught education. You can get your high school diploma and you can learn how to use a computer and you can be part of this world again.
Wow.
And you're a valuable child of God.
Such a powerful ministry, really, and I think that you're doing God's work here, and I didn't realize that the Blue Heart Warriors was your foundation. That's a Burke Williams Foundation.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I didn't really understand that initially. Well, Theresa, you're doing amazing things. Where do you go from here? I mean, are you going to build this? Are you going to grow more homes and in terms of locations? And I mean, we have one out in Riverside, which is kind of far away from LA, but are you going to put some here in the LA area as well?
I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is it's kind of interesting, as you ask about life, because we are where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And we just keep building from where we are to where we're supposed to go.
Yeah.
And all along the way, there's work to be done. All along the way. And I would encourage this audience, anyone listening, to, where are you and who needs help? Because there's always someone who needs your help, and there's always something that you can do to make this world a better place.
Yeah.
And so I'm open to it. What I want is this foundation to grow so large that this problem is eradicated. It's gone. That men start understanding. I think part of the problem, this is what one of the DAs said, is that men think they're not doing anything wrong. They think, I'm paying for this, and this woman is agreeing to this. This is a mutual transaction.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize, as I didn't with massage, and I thought, oh, these women are prostitutes who are in illegitimate massage.
Sure.
No, they're trafficked women. They don't want to be prostitutes. And so what men are getting is a woman who's probably younger than they think, probably under 18, and just saying she's over 18, made up to look like she's over 18, and she's there not of her own free will.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that when men start understanding what they're doing is abhorrent and that it's, just so wrong, and I think there's just a lot of work to be done, and we can all do it together.
Yeah. Amazing. So, Theresa, how do people find you?
Well, gosh, you can go on the Burke Williams website.
Yep.
We're there. Again, we're just starting this foundation, so we're legal now. So I feel really good about that. And again, donating to a cause, coming in is donating to a cause, but we're going to start having programs within. So maybe we'll have a month where people can put in, something they want. So just keep your ears open.
Do you have a website?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. So you really are that new. Okay, you're brand new.
Yeah,
okay, this is wonderful. Yeah. So Burke Williams obviously is burkewilliams.com. Is that?
Yes.
And Burke is spelled?
Burke is spelled not the way I spell my son's name. Yeah, we had a good marketing person who said change the spelling.
Okay.
So it's BURKE Williams.com.
One word.
Well, yeah, one word. And Williams with an S.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
BurkeWilliams.com.
And you can find out about it that way.
Okay.
But Bob, we're copying you because you are just such a good deed doer.
Well, you have dove in to an amazing area, which I have to say, I'm a little bit naive on this. You would think that I would know more about it. I don't. I mean, you're teaching me things even today. So, I guess I tend to with in pediatrics we deal with a very, very happy young audience, and like you, when your kids were in my office and I watched them grow. I mean, the majority of those visitations we had together were really joyous moments, right? Weren't they? I mean, you think about the moments we had, and I don't really, my mind doesn't go here. It doesn't, because I'm not dealing with it. I'm dealing with young, families who, for the most part, in my practice, are healthy families.
Right.
They're raising children. There's a dad involved, mom involved. They love their kids. They want the best for their kids. They're doing good things. So this has been an education for me too. So we'll get your organization going. Have a couple of fundraisers, and we'll bring you back on the program and let people hear more about this. So. Okay, well, we're going to listen. I am kind of sitting here in my chair and just kind of drinking this all in.
It was
Theresa.
a lot. I know.
No, but I think this is wonderful. And what you've shared is powerful. I think that people, when they really realize the size of this thing, and you said the number is 45 million worldwide. How many in California? How many in America? How many in California?
I don't know in California, but it's all around us. And because I've gotten involved now with law enforcement, I was driving down to Carson. You know, we all go to Carson, right? There's an IKEA there.
That's right.
There was just a big bust right in one of those little hotels right across the street from IKEA where there was a ring. So it's all around. We have one of our spas is in San Jose, and some people were sitting outside, and there was a man grooming a young woman saying, you're going to go in, you're going to have your facial, and we're going to do this and that to you. And then when you come out, and we got a call, a tip, and they said, please be on the lookout for this young girl. We think she's being trafficked.
Yeah.
She didn't come in. We were waiting. He must have sent her somewhere else. But it's around us. And one of the things that there was a trafficker who actually was talking, and what he said he looks for, he doesn't look for a particular child. He doesn't look for a particular look in a child. He looks for a child where no adults are paying attention.
Yeah.
Because if there's an adult paying attention, he doesn't want to get involved because it's too much work for him.
Yep.
So the biggest thing we can do is pay attention to our kids, know where they are, know who they're online with, monitor all that, see who they're hanging out with. That's how we prevent it.
I think that these guys who are involved in this world, which is a very dark world, have an ability to find the vulnerable.
Yes.
And they just have that ability to look out there and find out whoever who seems to be vulnerable and kind of weak, and they can zone in on that. Okay, we're going to end the conversation there. Theresa Armour, this has been phenomenal, very interesting, and I really this is kind of a tough area to work in. I have to say, it's kind of dark, and I give you a lot of credit for engaging this, because you have a beautiful life out in Malibu. I know where you live, and to actually take this on as something that you're going to go to war with is a laudable, amazing decision on your part and Bill's part as well. So good job.
Thank you.
And friends who are listening, thank you for tuning in today. You've been listening to the Hamilton Review, where kids and culture collide. And find Theresa Armour. She's at Burke Williams, again, Burke Williams, WILLIAMS.com. And contact Theresa if this has touched your heart. I think it's a powerful thing. So until next time, be well, be hopeful. Take care. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Hamilton Review, where kids and culture collide. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your day. Tune in again next week on Apple Podcast. Rate and comment and tell a friend.